Same. We made it to the Museum of Fine Arts! But the rain's not stopping us, and it shouldn't stop you either. Well, hello. Well, friends, spring is in full bloom, which means it's time to do all the spring things. So join me as we make dandelion salve, map out our garden, and take a field trip to Boston's springiest spots. Let's go! It's the beginning of May, which means, if you don't know what that means, it's dandelion season! So you're probably like, girl, aren't dandelions weeds? Why are you excited about them? No. I love dandelions because to me it means spring is finally here, hitting New England, and I love it because the bees start coming out, because dandelions are one of the bees' first little treats of the year, and then that's when you start to see more birds and so on and so forth. And I'm hoping after this video you'll think a little bit different next time you see dandelions and not think of them as a weed, because they're actually that girl. And I'll tell you why. So here are a couple that I just pulled out of the ground, and I'm going to tell you a few different things you can do with dandelion. First things first, the greens are actually 100% edible, and you can use them in salads. You can cook them. I know in Greek culture they cook them like you would like collard greens or like cooked kale. Do you know what I mean? Personally, I don't use them for that because I don't really like how they taste. But some people really love them, so maybe give it a try. I will say they taste better before they flower. Once they flower, they become extremely bitter. Just an FYI. The next thing people use for dandelions a lot is the roots. So they have quite a thick root system, and you take them to the sink, you cut them down, you scrape it. It's very white. And a lot of people, what they do is they chop them up and they dry them. And this is a good alternative to coffee. Like if you're caffeine sensitive or you're trying to wean off coffee, a lot of people use dandelion root as an, what's the word I'm looking for? Substitute. That's the word. As a substitute for coffee. So that's number 2. And people really like it. It has the same sort of like bitterness as coffee does. Not bitter. It just be giving coffee. Another thing you can do is, so once they're fully flowered, the flower heads you can actually use to make tea. And I love dandelion tea. That's one of my favorite ways to use it, is making dandelion tea. It's so good for your liver. It's really good. Like you see it in a lot of like detox teas. Like if you ever go to the store and you're looking for detox teas, they'll typically have dandelion in them. But what I'm going to be using it for today is to make a salve. Now, if you don't know what a salve is like a topical. Think like cream, Vaseline-ish sort of texture for your skin. It's really good for wound healing. It just feels really nice if you have sensitive skin. It's really good for sensitive skin. I'm not a dermatologist, I'm not a doctor, so don't take me as law. But if you're looking for some natural skin sensitive creams, dandelion salves are a really good option, and that's what we're going to be making today. So I forgot to preface this before you start going places and harvesting dandelion, please make sure that you're harvesting them from a place that doesn't treat their grass, that doesn't put like pesticides or weed killers, stuff like that. Like I harvested from here, from our land, from our own yard, because I know that we don't use those sort of chemicals on our grounds. So I know that our dandelions are not contaminated. But if you're gonna go to like a park or out somewhere to go source dandelion, please just try to be aware and make sure that it's not at a place that treats their grass. So once you have your dandelions picked, you're going to want to wash them. And then once you have them washed, you are going to need a mason jar and an oil of your choice. I recommend either like an olive or an avocado oil. Today, I'm going to be using an avocado oil. What we're going to do is we are going to put our dandelions into the jar. Just like that. And then you're going to grab your oil and you just need to make sure that they're fully submerged. Okay. Okay, so now that you have it all submerged into the oil, you're going to want to let it sit for no less than 6 weeks. I would say 6 to 8 to keep it a sweet spot, and you want to like do it this season. The one that I'm about to use, I have been infusing that one for about a year. What you will be needing to make this salve is a mixing bowl and a whisk. If you have an electric whisk, good on you. I do, but you need to plug it in, and I want to be outside. Next, you're going to want a fat that is solid at room temp. I'm using African shea butter, but you could use like tallow. I'm pretty sure there's other stuff, but stuff that's a solid when it's at cool temperature. And so I already have my melted shea butter here. So for this, you're gonna want to do equal parts. So I have our shea butter, and so it's going to be equal parts shea butter and then equal parts the infused dandelion oil. And then you're just going to want a little container to put it in to store it. So we're going to start by pouring in our shea butter. Alright, so here is my infused dandelion that's been infusing for about a year. I'm going to measure this out and then pour into the mixture. So now that it's whipped, it should be this type of texture, almost, I don't want to call it buttery. Think like Vaseline, like ointment. Yeah, it's gonna be like an ointmenty texture. But then once you rub it in, it melts completely and emulsifies into the skin. I'm obsessed. I didn't put any fragrance in it. You could if you wanted, like a lavender essential oil would be really good in this. Today I just chose not to. And so now we're just gonna fill our little container. I really just want to kind of pack it in there because it's gonna get like air pockets. I love the color of it. It's like a beautiful golden, just buttery color. And I love the way it just melts. Like as soon as it touches the skin, it melts. So there you have it. Like if you just want like a hand cream, or my elbows tend to get really dry, things like that, scars, this is going to be my go-to. Just make sure before you close it that you want to clean off the edges and then get a good seal on there. And that's it. We made a dandelion salve together. And it's pretty easy. only a couple ingredients. And I think if you were to go to like a holistic natural store and buy some, you'd probably spend like $8 or $9 a tin. And I mean, if you want to do that, support your local herbalist. But if you can make it yourself, why not? And I hope that I was correct. Hold on. Okay, so I hope I was correct in saying that by the end of this, you would have a whole different view on dandelion, and that it wouldn't just be some weed, a nuisance that we've been told that dandelion is, that it needs to be killed, that there's actually a world of purposes for it, and maybe you'll try it too. And if you do, please let me know, and let me know how it comes out, because I would be very curious. Till next time, my people. Well, hello. Welcome to what will be the most beautiful, lush garden of my dreams. So I've already mapped out the perimeter. It's a 34 this way by 40. And there is a ton of rocks. So I actually need to come and measure and figure out exactly where the rocks are to successfully plan where I want to put the garden beds. So let's get into it. So I ended up finding the perfect sitting spot, and then the sheep, I've caught their attention. And so it's time for me to find a new spot. Otherwise, I will not be getting this done. I'll just be playing with sheep. Same. I think we found our spot. Let's get comfortable. Here is the point where I lost my audio, and I didn't even realize it until I finished recording everything. So sit back and hang out with voiceover Rihanna. Garden mapping is key to planning a garden. It may change once you start laying out the beds, but it helps give you a rough idea of where to begin. All you'll need to map your garden is some graph paper and a pencil. Graph paper is a perfect tool for garden planning because it can help you plan your garden to scale, so you know exactly what size beds you'll need and where they will actually fit. So before we even start with mapping, I like to create an outline. This helps me organize what I'd like to plant, materials, and methods I want to use, like the different trellises, what type of companion plants I want, and anything I just want to jot down, any ideas that I have for my garden. So something I have to keep in mind, in particular to my specific garden, is that it's on a downward slope. Because of this, I have to keep water drainage in mind when planning my layout. So my plan is to plant plants that prefer drier, better drainage soil towards the top, and plants that prefer a more wet soil towards the bottom. So at this point, I think we're ready to start drawing out our garden. First, we'll start by outlining the perimeter of our garden. Now, each square is 1 square foot, and our garden is 32 by 40 feet. Now, if you remember earlier, I measured out the location of that big patch of rocks in the garden. So I'm going to draw it out based on the distance I measured it from the perimeter. And from here, I'm going to start to map out the location of my garden beds. So my upper tier plants go first. So my thought process behind these beds is to build it based off the amount of plants I want in each bed. I'm going to use the tomatoes as an example. So I know I want to space them out at least 1 to 2 feet apart, and I know that I want 6 plants. And I know in addition to that, they need to be about a foot from the edge of the bed. So I'm using these dots as reference for my tomato plant. And I'm thinking it's going to be about 6 feet long and 3 feet wide. And that way, each plant can have about 2 feet between each other, and I can do a row of 3 and a row of 3. So now using that thought process, I'm going to do the same for the rest of my beds. For the squash, I've already drawn out the cattle tunnel that I want to add as a trellis. Now I'm drawing out the trellis for my cucumbers and my green beans. And for this, I decided to go with a lean-to trellis. Just the way that they can grow up and into and lay down onto the panel of the lean-to. And it makes it for easy picking and good sun exposure with still getting enough air so that they don't grow any fungus or anything like that or die prematurely. Trellises of all types make great additions to the garden, especially for climbing plants. And just like that, we have our garden ready to go. Now, things may change when it actually comes time to laying out the beds. And you know, that's okay, because at least we have a starting point to launch from. And that's exactly what we need. So I hope you found this helpful and maybe even gave you some encouragement to plan your very own garden. If so, please let me know. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. All right, I think this is where I bid you adieu. Thank you for spending this time with me. Catch you later.
It's been 3 months since we talked. Feel like you're on the road, yeah.
Okay. As a Massachusetts native, I'm going to tell you guys right now, bringing your car to Boston is just a bad idea, and like even people who live here, we don't do that. The best way to travel, 5-star, 10 out of 10, you don't know what you're going to see and it's kind of cuckoo, the subway.
Oh, babe, how can you be so blind?
We're here.
Cause I can love you better than no one else, and I can hold you tighter than she can. Cause I can love you better.
Welcome to Boston Public Gardens.
Established in 1837, Boston Public Garden lies in the heart of the city and is a popular spring destination. This specific time of year is one of my favorites because the apple blossoms and the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. The ducks are beginning to pair up and mate for the season, and I just get so excited. Walking through these gardens, I can't help but think of Bridgerton and the days of the dawn when people are courting through the gardens and mingling, and this was the time for society to be out and in season. Of the ducks, and it's a mama duck in the front. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boston Public Market. More and more, I feel like we're losing third spaces. You know, a place that's not home, that's not work, but that we can just go and be and enjoy. And that's free. Obviously, if you want to buy something, it costs something. But to walk around and just be in this space is a no charge at all. And I just petition that we have more places like this. Bring back our third spaces. Shop. Oh, there's a fish market too. Our photos from the market, and we are off to the next place, which is the Isabella Public Garden. Isabella Public Gardens. Here we go. We're out of the rain, but the rain's not stopping us, and it shouldn't stop you either. Wow. Okay, we detoured. We made it to the Museum of Fine Arts. So before you head in, on the back side, there's actually a bonsai garden that is free and open to the public. And it's so beautiful and definitely worth checking out. Framing Nature is their featured spring exhibit. This is the main reason we came, but there's honestly so much in this one museum. This exhibit just captured spring in its essence in all ways possible. The tapestries, the paintings, the modern art and the 18th and 16th century art all in one exhibit. The ambiance was 10 out of 10, and if you're in the Boston area, I highly recommend seeing this exhibit before it's gone. So my phone's about to die, so I'm gonna say goodbye. Nora, do you want to say goodbye? Bye. This was really fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun too. We have officially reached the end of this video, and I hope you had so much fun and learned something new and maybe even got inspired to try something new or go somewhere new. I hope spring is treating you well so far, and I hope that you'd want to stick around. If so, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!